All right, so this says we're live. Let me go to Hala's YouTube channel to see that we're streaming. I don't see that it's streaming yet, but maybe it will when it hits 6 o'clock. And so for the audience who's watching on Instagram, we're going to be talking about Colleen right here. Her background as a native of Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and an athlete, a volleyball athlete, a paddling athlete, just an all-around kind of cool person. Your paddling experiences and your relationship with Hala. So why don't you, it's not 6 o'clock yet, so we don't have to start there, but if anybody on Instagram has any questions, we'll see that.
I'm going to put my headphones in. Potter said the feedback is bad.
The feedback is bad, okay. Thanks, Potter.
Is it better?
I do hear an echo.
I do too.
Echo on Paul and Colleen before you start your live. Thanks, Chad. Chad the dad. Have you seen Chad's videos? That guy's crazy. He's ice climbing. So Hala ambassador, team paddler, Chad the dad from Sup, Montana. Ice climbing, family man, cool stuff.
I think I probably have to mute one of these, huh? Is that why it's echoing?
I bet so. Because I've got a microphone, you've got a microphone. But if we mute,
does that help?
So I don't hear any echo with you, and I don't hear any echo with me. Hey, Chad and Potter, if you're watching on Instagram, is there still feedback? Fixed.
Woo!
Perfect. Thank you so much,
Chad. Sweet. Oh, hi, James.
All right. Sweet. Chad, what kind of weather do you have up there? Is it above freezing at all?
And David, hi David.
I want to go try that wig. Yeah, the video that he just shared.
Yeah, that looks crazy.
Yeah, Skookum. And he was on an 8.6 for a little bit at Skookum, a wave that's probably not too inviting for an inflatable. He proved the haters wrong.
Yeah, and he entered backwards.
Of course.
Or with the board switch.
Ice Festival this week. Ice. I'm wearing shorts.
Oh my God.
It's raining, and I went paddling yesterday. So one thing I love about where I'm at in the Southeast is that I could paddle in the winter, and I don't have to worry about ice. David Manning's working on it, his switch. So it's now 4 o'clock Mountain Time. Is anybody watching on YouTube so I could get a confirmation that we are streaming here? Live comments will show up. I have yet to see a live comment. This is an experimentation. I've been looking at a variety of streaming services so that we could stream live for future podcasts and whatnot to a variety of Hala channels, YouTube and Instagram, Facebook included. Hard to verify if we're running or not, but let's just start this thing. Let's just start it, whether it be on YouTube or not. We've definitely got an audience on Instagram. We'll try to respond to comments as they feed in both. We don't have any echo. I don't hear any echo, and we're definitely having some people waving. So thanks for everybody who's on at least the Instagram, and I'm hoping people are on YouTube. I'm on YouTube. We're getting people. Jamie Bloom. All right. So Jamie, you're our first confirmation that we're going live. So let
Nice.
me introduce this here. Sup, everyone. I'm Paul Clark. Sup, Paul. I'm here in Asheville, North Carolina. Some of the content that you see on the Hala channels, the website, the social media, of course, is generated by me with athletes like David Manning in Alberta and Chad Dawkin in Montana. I know that you're on here. So I love creating stories and especially promoting brand messages for brands that I believe in and how I've been a part of for a long time. On this episode of YouTube and Instagram Live, we're talking with the new owner of Hala, Colleen King. I've known you now for a few years. You're one of the most badass people I know in a variety of ways. So without further ado,
Thanks, Paul.
introduce yourself. Where are you from? What's up?
Yeah, well, thanks, Paul. Thanks for putting this all together. I have a tendency to like to hide and isolate, so thanks for pulling me out of my shell. Yeah, I grew up in Steamboat, and I have worked for Hala for 6 years, off and on. I started in 2016, I believe. It was my first big kid job, and immediately loved Peter's energy, loved the brand he was starting. Was living a bit of a nomadic lifestyle. I was playing professional volleyball overseas and decided to try to get a job that would keep me rooted. I worked there for about a year, and then I got the opportunity to go get my master's in England. So I left Hala, took that opportunity, went and played volleyball, got my master's in England, played a season, or got the opportunity to play in Spain. I had to end that season early because of an injury. Came back, and then got a job in a real estate office, which was a unique opportunity, but eventually found my way back to Hala through COVID. And I was back full-time there, I'd say June of 2020.
What's your master's degree in?
I got an MA in Human Rights and Cultural Diversity through the University of Essex. So, yeah, I just really love to learn. I really love people like you. You like to tell stories. My undergrad's in communications, and yeah.
What was your first job with Hala?
That's an excellent question. I don't know if I've ever fully been able to define my role with Hala, because
The
we're all
many
just like,
hats that a person wears.
yeah, we're all just Hala ninjas. I was technically hired as Peter's personal assistant, or executive assistant. My first desk was like between the entrance and the kitchen, and Peter built it for me out of some plywood and things he found by the trash, and it was a great desk. And then I slowly moved into a little bit more communications, helped with the relaunch of the website, and then did like admin office stuff, and then anything that was on Peter's plate that he didn't have time to handle. So I kind of got to learn some cool ins and outs of the business that way my first year.
The ins and outs. And was that in their original office right next to the Wave?
Yeah, in the brick house.
The brick
house. I got
house,
a concussion that first year. I was taking out the trash, and a chunk of ice slid off the 2-story roof and hit me on the back of the head. So I have a love-hate relationship with that first office, but it was right by the Wave.
Yes, I work at a whitewater paddleboard company, and I have a concussion because of the ice fall. Yeah. And you're sitting at your house right now. You're on your porch, I think, wearing a blanket. What's the weather out in Steamboat right now?
I'm actually inside, okay. But it finally, the sun just poked out. It's been snowy kind of the last couple days, and pretty cold. I think we got 8 or 9 inches last night, and then just maybe a couple more today. So yeah, it's full-time winter already. It came fast this year.
And I'm going to introduce us again as we go. I'm Paul Clark. Paul, we're talking with the owner of Hala, Colleen King. And I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, wearing shorts. It's a little bit rainy. After the hurricane, it's been a really interesting place out here, and I'm loving how rivers recover. So the Nolichucky, the French Broad, and the variety of other rivers are recovering well. The communities are recovering slowly, but Asheville is strong. Colleen's in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. And we've got people viewing from Alberta, Montana. I see John Blackshire's on YouTube, so Denver, Colorado. That's awesome. So Hala has had you since 2016. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yep. I had to do my math, but yeah.
When you were Peter's personal assistant, you stopped to play professional volleyball. If anybody doesn't know Colleen, when you meet her, regardless how tall you are, you look up. You look up both physically and in a lot of ways. I look up to you in a lot of ways. So if you don't know, Colleen's like 9 feet tall, so it doesn't surprise me that you were a professional volleyball player.
What's funny is I'm actually average to short for volleyball, but in the real world, yes, I'm a giant. I'm about 6'1", and with the world of Zoom, you don't know how often I meet people and they're like, "Oh my god." But yeah.
What is a 6 foot? What?
Oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
I was going to ask, what is a 6'1" person paddle? What's your preferred paddle for running down rivers on a board?
Yeah, I like the 8.6. I like the Atcha 8.6. My little brother is about the exact same height as mine. Both of them. I have a couple, and he loves the 711 personally, but he's always been a little bit more fun than me. Like on skis, he's always doing tricks and things off the side of the road. So I think he likes the 711 the best. But I like the 8.6. I think it's fun, more maneuverable, a little more surfable. But my brother and I just got to paddleboard the Grand Canyon, and we both took the 9.6 just to have a little more volume. But my day-to-day through Steamboat's town run, or if I get to go paddle with people elsewhere, I usually default to the 8.6.
Wonderful. Let's talk about some of your trips. Recently, you've been on a Gates of Lodore on the Green, and also the Grand Canyon. So let's talk about the Gates of Lodore, and how is that a river to paddleboard on? I've rafted it back in the day when I was working for the Colorado Outward Bound School. It was my very first whitewater experience, and I was overwhelmed. But I've wanted to go back on a board. But you've done it. How's it?
It was awesome. And also just a shout out back to my friend Michelle. She was one of my best friends in England. Hello. I got tea. Yeah, repping from England. Sorry, just had to shout out to my English friends.
Heck yeah.
The Gates of Lodore trip, it was awesome. It was the first river trip I'd gotten to do with my little brother. He is 7 years younger than me, and so I feel partially responsible for helping raise him. And we just had a blast. It was the first time I'd done Gates of Lodore without the company. Peter had taken all of us Hala employees 2 other times. So I was aware of kind of the routes and the ways to navigate on a small craft. And then my brother and I were the only 2 paddleboarders. And it was a last minute invite, I think maybe 10 days before. And we had a blast. It was awesome. It was interesting to go and be kind of the small craft leader. Whenever I go on the company trips, I'm always kind of the team mom and learning from other people. And my brother is an incredible paddler and awesome, but I just will always see him as 11 years old. So trying to protect him and show him the ways. He didn't need me. He was fine, but was just a different experience to go through it this way. The last time I was on Gates of Lodore, I didn't know if my dad was going to still be with us or not. He's had 3 strokes, and he was sick for about 8 years. And he actually passed 2 or 3 weeks after that company trip in 2020. So going back there with my brother, it was pretty healing, because I just remember being down there in the canyon, leaning on Jimmy, who, created Hala with Peter and other coworkers, and just telling them I don't know what's going on up there in the world, and if my dad will be there when we're back. So Lodore has a special spot in my heart, and I think it's just a magical canyon in general.
How's your dad?
He passed away in October 2020. So it was about 3 weeks after that trip in Lodore. Which is like anyone who's watched anyone suffer, it gets to a point where it's a relief, and you're glad to have them transition into whatever world you believe is there or isn't there, but transition out of this life anyways.
Yeah. Powerful. Yeah. I'm glad you had that experience and you were able to be with him then. What about the Grand Canyon? Grand Canyon on a paddleboard?
Yes. So we just got back on the 23rd of November. And we just did the first 10 days from Lee's Ferry to Phantom Ranch. And it was very humbling. I learned a lot about whitewater swimming.
Whitewater swimming, stand up, swim down.
Yeah. And my brother, again, same brother, we had a blast. He's a really strong paddler and also a 25-year-old male, so I think that comes with a level of confidence. And we just had so much fun. We would alternate who went first, more so we could watch one another explode in the rapids or like get turned around by the eddy lines and the boils. And we didn't bring a GoPro, and I so regret it because I wish I could transpose some of the images I have of watching him just like rocket off a board or like crush a huge wave that you think is going to take you down. Or it was so fun.
That's wonderful. And you said you didn't bring a GoPro for all those people who are out there. And I want to ask the audience to see John Blackshires both on Instagram and YouTube. John, if you could give an update if YouTube is running properly, that would be great. But you didn't bring a GoPro on the Grand Canyon, which means to me the memories that you have are powerful. So the waves were huge. The board was like 30 feet in the air on a 9-foot leash. It was just up there. But if you if you filmed it and had it on a GoPro, it would be just like this little ripple that would disappoint your memories entirely. So you're stoked that you didn't bring a GoPro on that thing.
Yeah, I am. And even watching the videos before I left, you see these 18-foot boats go through some of the rapids, and it doesn't give it the perspective that is actually warranted. It is, the water looks and feels so much bigger than anyone can, unless you're in it. And like you said, I'm 6'1", and I swear there were so many waves I was looking up through wave trains like, oh my God, here we go.
So John says that YouTube is running, but we're bigger on Instagram. So we'll just continue focusing on Instagram. Thank you, brother. How's Denver out there, John? Are you still paddling the whitewater out there? Let's go back into the Hala element. Before you started with Hala, were you a river enthusiast? Were you a paddleboarder?
No. I like to tube the Yampa River around the 4th of July. That's about as far as I got. Well, I guess I was a river enthusiast in ways. I grew up in a neighborhood in Steamboat called Riverside, and there was a swimming hole that's no longer there as the river diverted, but we would swim in the river every day. So I do think I felt like a connection to the water, but my family didn't grow up whitewater rafting or kayaking or anything of those sorts. So I got hired for this random company in Steamboat, and that was my first exposure to really anything. I mean, I still, to this day, have only been on a raft twice. I've only really paddleboarded. I don't know how to raft. I've never been in a kayak. So yeah, my experience with the river is pretty solely on a paddleboard.
Well, that leads me to a couple of questions that I had. What's your opinion on this? So Hala is a paddleboard company. Its reputation is on the rivers. Is Hala a river paddleboard company? How would you answer that?
Yeah, excellent question. I think in the past we expanded into different horizons, and as we kind of hunker down and recalibrate, we're really focusing on what we're good at, and that is the rivers. If you've gotten to meet Peter Hall, he's incredible and awesome, and his heart, I think, is with the rivers. He loves surfing as well, but his designs are so I think, your energy flows where your heart is. And so his energy is on the river designs, and he's got some really incredible river designs. And I think that makes us unique. So we are in 2025 focusing more on the rivers. And my goal is to help people recognize that it is an approachable sport. Because when you watch it, it looks crazy. And if you would have told me 5 years ago I'd paddleboard the Grand Canyon, I would have laughed at you. Even rafting the Grand Canyon, it sounded like something outside my wheelhouse. But it's pretty approachable if you start on class 1, 2, moving lake kind of river. It's a really incredible way to connect with nature that you don't get to see in other ways. Well, if you go in the morning, you see moose on the sides of the river. I've had a bear swim in front of me. I think it's a really interesting way to interact. So in a long answer, Paul, I would say Hala has at its core always been a river company. And this next, especially 2025, we're really going to focus back on that.
We're going to get back to that. And if people have questions on YouTube or on Instagram, we're talking with the owner of Hala, Colleen King. I'm Paul Clark, SUPPAUL. If you want to know about Colleen's vision for the future of the brand, ask questions. If you want to know her past experience as a social justice student and a professional volleyball player, ask, and we'll come back around there. But I want to do one little thing about my history. When I met Peter with a phone call, I had just taken some photos of the yoga slackers, Jason and Chelsea Magnus, doing some acro yoga on an acha. And I thought, this is a great brand. I bet I'm going to reach out to Peter and send him some photos. Back in 2012, it was 2013, and started talking about river trips that I had done. He's like, I build boards for running rivers. Why don't you send me some photos, and I'll send you a couple boards and see what we could do. And so there was my reputation. And back then, I was the duffel bag paddleboarder. Wait, hold on. Was John say, Colleen, what's your second favorite river you have paddled? Coming back to that, John. I was the duffel bag paddleboarder doing trips in Alaska, Panama, etc., with a waterproof backpack on my board, and I was paddling. But I'm only a paddleboarder now because of the rivers. I wouldn't be a paddleboarder if it wasn't for the rivers. And it's the atches in particular that I associate with paddleboarding.
Yeah. I agree with you, actually. I don't think I would be a huge paddleboarder if it weren't for the rivers. I think the lake is fun, but it's a really special way to connect. When you were paddleboarding with a duffel bag, where were you primarily paddleboarding?
It was open water. My idea was I believed that I could repeat all the places that I was a sea kayak guy on a paddleboard. So I went to Alaska, went to Baja, and with an inflatable 12.6, I realized pretty quickly that it's a different beast. My sea kayak was 19 feet long and 22 inches wide. And I could put, look who just joined us, Peter himself. Hola, Peter.
Peter?
It was a 19-foot boat, 22 inches wide. I could put gear in it, and off I went. So I paddled the Sea of Cortez twice in a kayak, 1,000 miles, and did a 300-mile trip in 16 days on a paddleboard. So it was a different craft. And then living in Oregon at the time, if you're going to do multi-day trips, it's going to be on a river. So I had to learn about rivers really quick. And fortunately, I had some Hala gear that took me onto some of my first rivers, and here I am again. So getting into the business side of things, we're going to come back to John Blackshire's questions. What's your second favorite river? But the industry of river paddleboarding has changed over the years. And what do you think the future of paddleboarding in general is? And then we'll get into Hala's aspect to it.
Oh, wow. That's an excellent question. I wish I knew the answer to that question. That would help me a lot.
You don't have a magic ball?
Yeah. I think that from what I've learned, and I wish we could phone a friend and have Peter tag in what he's learned. But mostly from what I've learned from listening and talking with Peter too, and other people in the industry is, it ballooned during the outdoor boom of COVID, and a lot of people got really excited, and it was a safe individual activity you could do. And then I think a lot of those people that dipped their toe into it have gone back to normal life. And I think that lakes offer a magic to them, but I think sometimes it can cause people to lose interest. And that's why I like the river. And I think that's why, Hala is good at the river, and it offers just like a more unique experience with the outdoors. So I think maybe more niche paddleboarding. I don't know if this is where paddle sports is headed in general, but I think like more niche paddleboarding is fun. And I think opening the doors to people who are beginners or intermediate, it draws more of a sense of adventure, more of a connection. That's where I hope it's heading. How about that?
I would like to call it adventure paddleboarding. When Hala got into
Yeah.
REI, I was really pushing that phrase. You know, some people would call it cliche, but the adventure paddleboarding, have
Yeah.
shoes on when you're paddling, have a
Yeah.
quick release leash system, and have gear on your board because you're going someplace as opposed to just sitting at the shallow end of a lake with friends. That's where I
Yeah.
see paddleboarding in general right now. And I don't want to dismiss that, because if someone's having fun on a board, great. And
Yeah.
if you're on the shallow end of a lake with friends, that means you're outside enjoying the weather.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think adventure paddleboarding is a great way to say it. And that can be like from river surfing, or like David Manning did that trip out into the wave, which I can't remember the name of the wave, but what was it? What's the name of that?
Skookumchuck. On
Yep.
the British Columbia coast, Skookum, one of
Yeah.
the top 5. It's intertidal, so is it considered river waves? But it's one of the top 5 inland waves.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that was an adventure for him to go out and surf there. And I think adventure paddleboarding is more engaging. And like John Blackshire just said, they make for big smiles when you're paddling on the
Absolutely.
river. Rivers are dynamic. Yeah.
And my buddy up also in Alberta, Sup Bradfish, just joined. Howdy, Brad. So yeah, the adventure paddleboarding. Hala has gone from about 20 boards to a lineup in 2025 of less than that. What can you tell us about the 2025 lineup of Hala boards?
Yeah. We are going to go down to just 6 boards for 2025, and we are going to keep our Acha 8.6 and 9.6, the Rado Radito, and the Hassan Straight Up. And the way that we're kind of classifying them is by activity or action, or the verb that you would use each one for. So our Hassan Straight Up, we're making the shape a little bit more dynamic. It's still beginner friendly, but a little more dynamic, a little bit more rocker. We kind of want those to be the beginner river board that also crosses over into lake paddling. So someone who maybe wants to dip their toe into river paddling, we're calling that our cruise series. And then the Rado Radito, we're same kind of deal, making the shape and the outline a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more rocker. And we're going to call that our adventure series, sticking with the same sizes. And then the Acha 8696, we're calling that our charge series. And again, just kind of moving everything into like pushing the limits of the sport. And my best friend Kylie just logged on.
Yeah. I think she was saying she's got to go. She's like, howdy.
No, go best friend since 3rd grade. We've been best friends since 3rd grade.
Sweet.
So, and she's also an entrepreneur as well. She's a stud. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're going. Beginner, intermediate, and advanced paddling for the river, and trying to just make it approachable for people who are just trying to get into the sport and enjoy paddling.
River Sup Pup just joined some of their content up in AK, if I believe. We've been sharing a bunch of their content on social media. Love the blue water and the smiling dogs so out there. Can we talk a little bit about names? The names of the Hala boards. So if Peter's still on, he could testify to some of this stuff. I think what of someone Jamie Bloom on YouTube is going to ask about the changes from the 9.6 and the 8.6 in particular. So we'll get to that. But the names of the boards, some of my favorite names of Hala boards, like classic banger names, like the reason why we have these names or because it fits so well, have been discontinued. Can we bring some of these names back? The holidays, the Hall of Fame, the Hallelujah. Like, what? Do you really have names in the back catalog that need to be on these boards now?
The jalapeno is my favorite, personally.
The jalapeno, what a spicy nugget, as Peter would call it.
Yeah, the spicy little popper, as he'd say. Yeah, I would like to bring some of those names back. I think it honestly we just need a little bit of time.
Sure.
People I think
Sure.
are familiar with and understand the models, and those were such specific models. You know, the Holidays was huge, and the Hallelujah had that rail. So for simplicity and like the familiarity, we're keeping the names matching like the similar models. But yeah, I would be open for that.
The hologram.
And if there are names in the back, yeah, like the hologram. I wonder if Peter has more names in the back.
And if anybody on YouTube or Instagram have some names to throw out, suggestions, do that. John Blackshire and David Manning are asking about changes to the 8.6 and 9.6. Can we talk any about that?
Yes. This is where I still sometimes feel like I want Peter to lead the way through this discussion. Yes. So Peter designed our 2025 line with my input. Mostly I was a sounding board for his ideas. But we are making the rocker a little bit more continuous. So it will ride over the waves a little bit more. We got to test Trinity Wall actually had a board that had a different rocker than our other 9.6s. So that was super fun to do a side-by-side test, especially with Peter there, like talking us through it and what do you feel? And all of us just comparing notes. And then we're adjusting the shape slightly. And then we're toying with the idea of what the nose will look like, if it'll be a little bit more pointed or if we'll stick with the bluntedness of the nose. The atch is pretty, in my opinion, and I think in your opinion too, Paul, it's pretty close to perfect. So the shifts will be slight, but even, you know, Peter said this, even when you're working in like centimeters, it does make a big difference. So I think you'll be able to feel the difference in the board. And we're waiting on the samples. They should be here any day. So I'm excited to feel the differences that we played with.
Well, Peter on Instagram just said some small tweaks. Prototypes headed our way soon.
Thanks,
and
Peter. Yeah.
No matter where we go, anytime we're on a river, someone's going to offer a suggestion. How about this color? How about this technology? How about this material? How about this deck pad? How about me being a team rider? Whatever it is. But David Manning, who probably is still on here, had a great design idea. So during our beverages and design ideas, I don't know if David, you ever talked to Peter, but your concept of buoyancy would be something to consider in the future, I think. So keep that in mind. All right. Okay, what is River Sup Pup? What a great name, saying. Any lighter boards for paddlers? Or lighter boards for pipeline. You're talking about surfing, huh? So lighter boards is a request. Carbon playa is a request.
You know, some of these are things that are. I love the playa as well. I love the Playa Torrey X. Working on getting a couple of things moving for surfing that we just don't have enough information on yet. Peter's got some great ideas.
Well, he also just commented, "We're always listening." So we're going to talk to you, Peter, in an upcoming event like this if it's successful. And just as a reminder to everybody, we're on Hala's YouTube channel. Please subscribe, follow on that, and we're also on Hala's Instagram page, talking with the new owner of Hala, Colleen King. So if you have any questions about anything, let us know. We've been on for about 30 minutes. We probably have about 30 minutes to go. If you want to know anything about Colleen's backstory, how she got to where she is as a paddler, we'll recycle our answers and our conversations all about that. If you have information or if you have questions about the 2025 lineup of boards, I'm really excited to have a sleek line to explore more with. I'm sure our people are too. As I've been traveling, the one board everybody asks about surprisingly enough, is not the board that's been a very popular seller, but the 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
What's up with the 7-Eleven?
I think you might have said it, Paul, but the 7-Eleven's a board that just is taking a little time for people to get used to, or feel confident on. When I ride it, it feels like you're riding like a trick bike. It's like definitely super responsive and more playful than the 8.6 and the 9.6. It's not my preferential board, but it is my little brother's favorite board, and I definitely have one for myself for time and again. I think it's a board that you could probably have to grow into. And like I said, my little brother's a better paddler than I am, so it could be why he enjoys it, and I'm still not quite there. There are still 7-Elevens in stock. You should definitely get on it, Blackshire. But yeah, there are still some in stock if anyone's looking for them. And with all of these boards that we're discontinuing right now, it hopefully isn't forever, and it might not be forever. But it's just kind of where we're at and what we have to hone in and focus on based on numbers. And far and away, those 6 boards we're keeping were our best sellers for the last couple of years.
And it's a big thing to go with what works and improve upon it.
Yeah.
And Peter, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you built the 7-Eleven to match your paddling style and your desire to catch river waves on the fly and still run. So Peter's also one of these guys who are as tall as the Eiffel Tower. I'm 5'7", so everybody's tall when you're vertically challenged like me. But I love photographing people on the water. As anybody knows, Paul Clark, SUPPAUL. I take photos of river paddleboarding. Everybody has a different style. Colleen, me, Cohen Atkins, Michelle Atkins, Peter. I call Peter's style. And if anybody has paddled with Peter, you'll laugh at this because it's true. I wish we could post a video of this. I'll post videos of Peter paddling. But he's the drunken warrior. You know what I mean? So like some people are like really quiet over the center line of the board. They never take their paddle out of the water. I'm going to demonstrate. It's probably not going to be very visible. But he's waving his arms and splashing and doing back braces and almost falling in. And like he'll be in the most technical, rowdy water with the smallest spice nugget of a board and somehow surviving. I call it the drunken warrior. So I think the 7-Eleven was intended for drunken warrior paddlers out there. And who's found it to be a really great board are smaller paddlers and people who are really subtle on the water.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way. And Peter stays dry the whole time. When we were on Lador, I think the first time Peter was turned around backwards facing upriver talking to me, and there was a rock behind him. And I don't know why it took me so long to tell him to watch out for the rock, but he was telling me something important. I didn't want to interrupt him. And I was like, finally like, Peter, rock. And he somehow drunkenly, like, he was not drunk. His style,
the drunken warrior style.
Backpedaled onto the rock, swung his board around, and then jumped off the backside of the rock and got on clear. And he was like, "Righto," and then just paddled away. And he
said it with a British accent.
And I feel like that's how he gets through. Yeah, Peter does a lot of accents. A lot of German accents.
The harmonica player himself. Oh, but now I wish he was on there. But anyway, we'll come to you
another
Peter.
time. Yeah.
Exactly. We've talked a little bit about your magic ball of paddleboarding. Where will this sport go? At one point, it was the fastest growing sport, at least on the water. And now I think it's been replaced by a variety of other things. But the adventure paddleboarding aspect of it remains. So all the people who are watching are certainly already fans and often loyal consumers for Hala. So, they have all the generations of boards out here in the Southeast, especially the Appalachia Whitewater subgroup. I can't believe how many people on any given day. I could be paddling with 16 people on the river of quality paddlers any day out here. Where back in the day, I consider Oregon the epicenter of whitewater paddleboarding. You have the White Salmon in the Hood River, people like Dan Gavir paddling at the ultimate. I'm like, where I am is the epicenter. And now you go back to Oregon, and everybody's on wings or foils or something that's not on a paddleboard. So like if I go to the White Salmon, I don't have anybody to paddle with. So out here, it's wonderful. At any day of the year, I could find water to paddle on, including the Hala, which is dam fed throughout the year, about an hour or so from Asheville. So get to paddle, and hopefully some prototypes. 2025 prototypes will be coming this way soon.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
I think this week, Paul. Hopefully.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Peter's laughing. All right. What? Let's go back to your early days of Steamboat Springs. What was it like as a kid in Steamboat?
Good question. Yeah, Steamboat was great. I think like any kid, you think that there's nothing to do in your hometown. And I was, I think I was excited to leave it, but I played a lot of indoor sports. I was big into volleyball, basketball, soccer, hockey, softball, all the team sports. My family would ski together on Sundays and on the resort. And yeah, it was a really nice community to grow up in. I think, especially at that time, before there was a lot of remote work or people traveling a lot for work, it was pretty isolated. It wasn't owned by a huge shared pass. So it was just a nice community. We were busy during Christmas and spring break, and kind of everyone knew everyone. It was a little bit, and someone who was here in the 70s or 80s would probably disagree with what I'm saying. I was born in 91, but I think that it was pretty isolated and not a ton of tourism. And as it is now, the secret's out and people love to come to Steamboat. It was just a little quieter growing up here.
How many cowboy hats do you have?
Good question. I actually don't have any. I have one pair of boots. I have a lot of friends that are ranchers, so I have some like embroidered ball caps, but I don't have a cowboy hat.
The embroidered ball cap is definitely a cowboy hat for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Go back to the ranching thing. So you posted on Instagram last year, or was it a couple of years ago? Time flies.
Yeah,
you just threw me when you said you graduated from high school, or you were born the year that I graduated from high school. I'm recovering a little bit from that, but the videos that you had of destroying or attempting to destroy paddle boards at a ranch, what was up with that?
Oh my God, that was so fun. We needed some more marketing content for our all water boards. And to be honest, I just was kind of sick of hearing everyone talk about it. So I was like, well, I'm just going to go out. So my best friend, Allie, is a photographer, a PT, and her husband run Yampa Valley Ranch and Whispering Willow Ranch. So, we did some kind of, we'll trade you a board for X amount of photos and some videos. And I think it started at a softball game. I played D-League softball and just talking about, wouldn't it be cool to try to run over it with a tractor? And they were like, oh, it wouldn't last at all. It'll pop right away. So I was like, all right, well, let's see if we can do it. And Peter was all for it if I wanted to put in the time to do it. And I wish I would have mic'd those guys up because I wish I would have mic'd up my cowboy friends. They were like getting genuinely frustrated that they couldn't pop it. They ran over it the first time, nothing. He was like, I'll run down to center so that it like evenly distributes the weight more. And then it didn't pop and he was amazed and backed over it a few times. Burned the clutch out on it, was like spinning it around. Yeah, it was a blast. I was nervous too. I didn't know if it was, I don't know. Peter was pretty confident it would hold and was like, it's not really going to be that big of a deal. But I didn't know. I thought maybe it would pop. The tractor was huge. So.
And finally, you had to take the little Covey Bach just joined. If anybody knows dropping off falls on a paddleboard, it's Covey Bach, and also ranching equipment. What are those the forklift things? Is that what you eventually had to do to kill the board?
Yeah,
I'm doing this. Yeah. So I'm not anybody that knows anything about, but the poker thingies.
Yeah. I don't know what it's called either. But it has like the point on it to get a round bale and pull it off. And eventually I just let Chase take it. It was pretty beat up board. Yeah. Yeah. But that was fun. We got to we did sup joring up at the headwaters of right near the headwaters of the Yampa River, which was super cool at the Yampa Valley Ranch in Yampa, Colorado, and that was scary. And you know, horses are finicky, and he lassoed my paddle, and I just held onto my paddle while him and this horse pulled me up the river. Ate it a couple times, but the horse got going fast. It was shallow. I think it was September, so it was pretty fun. Pretty fun.
Kobe,
I was trying to. Oh, go ahead.
No, continue. No, you continue on with your story. I'll tell Kobe's story here in a second.
I was just trying to, you know, Steamboat does have a Western heritage, and I wanted to kind of bring that back. I think sometimes people forget about Steamboat's roots, so I like that Hala is a steamboat-born company, and I wanted to connect it to that a little bit. So.
And I'll tell you, driving across the country with, I've never lived in Colorado, but I have a van that had a Colorado flag on it, and all the paddle boards have a Colorado flag on it. And people east of Colorado associate the West with Colorado. Once they've crossed over the Rockies, they're out west. I'm like, what about Oregon? What about the Sierras where I was raised? No, we're out west. We're in Colorado. So, yeah. I mean, having that Colorado flag means something, and it's a great thing to have on a board and in probably any product.
Yeah, the zest for the West. Zest for the West is real right now.
Zest for the West. And I want to, I don't know if Hala doesn't have anything on social media from this event, but did you know Covey Bach was dragged in the ocean on a paddleboard towed by a camel? A little back. Yeah. Covey, you remember that? So we're gonna share some of those photos. Like I'm like, I have this content from Covey. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this, Covey. You're dressed as he was dressed in a robe, and like he had a little like chic hat. Like, Covey, what are you doing?
Wow. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I wonder how he thought of, where'd you get the camel?
He arranged it. I wasn't there at all. Actually, it was an interesting thing. But now that I remember that, we need to share some content. It's been long enough on shelf to bring some of that content out.
You did a horse packing. I just saw you recently post that, Paul. That horse packing stuff. I want to do that. That looked cool.
So with Jimmy Reed in Montana, in northern Montana, in the Flathead mountain range, you have three really wonderful sections of river: the South Fork, the North Fork, and the Middle Fork of the Flathead. Well, the South Fork is remote, very popular for pack rafters. Pack rafters will hike in and do 5 to 8 days on the river there. I have to remind myself how many miles that was, like 150 miles on the river. And because we had boards, and even the lightest inflatable paddleboard, around 22 pounds. If you're carrying 9 days, which is what we were out there for, worth of gear, it gets heavy. So Jim is like, great idea. We're going to hire a horse pack raft or a horse pack to bring us up there. And that was great. That was a huge part of it. And the people who watched my vlog of the South Fork trip laugh at me because I was wearing a helmet on the horses. They're like,
I noticed that too, actually.
I'm not a horse guy.
I actually think it's not a bad idea. I've hit my head enough times. I should just wear a helmet all the time.
So yeah, it sounds like you have a horse background as well as volleyball and paddling.
I so aspire to have a horse background. I have a lot of really awesome, badass rancher friends that do really cool horseback trips. Like one of my friends did the first ascent on a trail through. Where was she? I think she was in Patagonia, and it was the first time anyone had ever done it on a horseback, on horseback, or they do like crazy, 3-week hunting trips. And I don't get those invites, so we're slowly working into trades where they give me horseback riding lessons, and I give them wine or we go lift and I run them through like a lift at the gym or something like that to share our skills. But one day I will be a horse person. I feel pretty comfortable. I've moved cows. I can run on a horse. I can go on a horseback ride, but I can't do anything crazy.
And what are you doing on the slopes? Are you a skier, or snowboarder?
I'm a skier. I don't know that I'll ever snowboard. I think I don't want to get hurt, but I'll go fast on my skis. Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
I've been skiing since I was 3.
Nah,
about not getting hurt.
You have a muscle memory with skiing, and you wouldn't have that on a snowboard?
Yeah, and it's a long way for me to fall, and I never want to give up a good powder day or a cruise or blue sky day cruising. So I just love skiing. I don't really see. If anything, I'd learn how to telly. I don't really have a desire to learn how to snowboard personally. I mean, it looks cool when people are good at it, but no, I love skiing.
So, yeah, I had to give up mountain biking when I started paddling because, like, I don't want to wreck my shoulders when I'm really enjoying this paddling thing. Is telemark skiing still a thing? I mean, I used to be a competitive telemark skier in the free riding world of the late 90s, early 2000s in Utah, where my big thing was like a front flip off to like a 30-footer. But do people still telemark? I've been out of the ski industry for a while.
Yeah, I think so. Now it's like a cool niche thing. I mean, I think tele skiers are awesome, but there's not a ton out there. But I kind of think it's had like a resurgence.
They make really good river paddleboarders, I've found. They know how to use their knees and be able to squat and shift their weight.
Yeah, I bet so. I think it looks like a good time.
Well, cool, Colleen. It's we're gonna be done within 10 minutes. What else? Telemarking looks so cool. Germ says. Yeah. It is cool, and it was good for the legs and the workout and the backcountry traveling. Paddleboarding became my form of backcountry traveling. So in the few minutes that we have left, tell us what your vision. What do you want Hala to become? And I'm going to throw a big caveat in there, an asterisk. It might not be important to you. It might not be important to our audience, but I want to know about the woman ownership aspect to it. Yeah.
Well, I'll take it in 2 parts. So my vision for Hala in general, at a very basic level, is for the brand to continue on. And that's kind of how it all started, and I'm super thankful that we get a chance to run it again. I'm super thankful that Peter wanted to stay on and keep growing the brand. I really full-heartedly don't think you can have Hala without Peter and his brain and his creativity and his designs. And I think he, created the sport or put the sport on the map or to a new level, especially in my life. I mean, I would never know. And in Steamboat, if you come into Steamboat, he created that culture. So my goal, I suppose, is to continue on that legacy with him, with you, with all of the athletes and ambassadors that have helped make this a brand that people love so much. Potter has gotten to stay on full time with us, which is awesome. So, through the years, I've gotten to see a lot of people build the brand and create it for what it is. And no one did it half-heartedly. I think, regardless of how people ended up staying with the company or not staying with the company, everyone loved it. And so I just really I love what it became, and I want to continue that legacy on. I am still new to the sport, so I want to continue learning and growing. And as I do, I think sharing my story and other people's stories, like John said earlier in a comment, that everyone was a beginner at one time. So I think Hala helped carve out the sport, and sometimes it can seem intimidating to onlookers. Like when I show my volleyball friends what I'm doing, they think that it's insane and that I'm just like the crazy Colorado hippie person. But they have the capability to do it too. And you can do it at so many varying levels. I told my mom I want her to be like the face of a campaign because she can do the upper part of the town run and do great and have a blast. And I think once people kind of get a taste and find their connection with the river and whatever level they're comfortable with, it's a really cool, unique sport. So I want Hala to not just sell the awesome products we have, but to kind of be a community and like open the door to people that are interested in it and understand how to do it safely and where they can go do it, and connect with local paddle shops or local paddlers in their area. How we get that all done, I'm not totally sure, but that's my goal, and I have some ideas of how to do it. And this podcast is a great start. So thanks, Paul.
We'll come back to the women element too, but what is your take on like the brick and mortar side, the retail side? Spotted Dog Yoga from Folsom just showed up, so they might have some comments about this too. But it seems like it would be really difficult in this world, regardless of what you're selling, to be a brick and mortar with online services and direct from factory services. Like, how can you survive as a brick and mortar mom and pop retail shop in today's market, whether it be a paddling sport or not? And how can a brand like Hala help support them and yet still be solvent with sales?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's something that's like really shifted in just the market in general since COVID, with a lot of different industries. I think the best way that I'm working to try to help support that is we're offering higher margins this year for our wholesalers. But it also comes at we're asking people to prepay. So we're asking them to like really buy in to what we're doing. I want to reconnect with the wholesalers and the retailers and give them a little bit more support, whether it's from myself personally or whatever our 2025 team should be. Just so that they feel educated on the product and understand what makes it truly special. And I think that wholesalers play a huge role. Like when I'm looking at, considering our 2025 marketing budget or things like that, I'm more inclined to want to go be at events again now that COVID's kind of cleared up, go be in shops, go visit shops and help. I think we sell such a unique product. People will do their internet research and purchase that way and see our content and all those things. But I think it's really like getting on a board, talking to someone who's been on a board, that kind of converts someone into not just a Hala paddler, but like a community member, which someone just said, yeah, sup Bradfish. It's all about the community, which is why I love the river too.
And it's hard it's hard to get a board without demoing it. The first time a person's on a 9.6, we consider that the super stable big whitewater board. But most people who get on a 9.6 start spinning it. Like, how does this thing go straight? So you need people in a community who could inform. You need demo shops. You need retailers who could really speak to it. So that's been it's a double-edged sword, because you need outfitters and retailers, but at the same time, margins could be really difficult. John Blackshire asked, what colors for 2025? Can I tell him the colors? John, get your colors ready. It's bright pink with purple slashes. Is that right? Bright pink?
No, that would be awesome. I wish. Instead of going 80s like that, we went a little bit more 70s style is what I learned. I was trying to show Peter my palette, and I was just pulling clothes. I have a kind of a muted palette, and I'm finally on trend. I asked ChatGPT, and that is what's trending for the outdoor industry in 2025.
Well, so yeah, we'll come back with that. But if I could, you're such a youngster, Colleen. You might not get this reference, but it's a Mork and Mindy palette.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's a sitcom from the 70s or maybe early 80s, but I think it was the 70s. But lots of this color palette is represented, at least like in their poofy brown jackets. So yeah, it's a little retro. It's a little cool. It's really cool, actually.
Yeah, I really like it. And we definitely went with more like simplicity, which is also kind of
Boulder, Colorado. Mork and Mindy was from Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. And then just to touch, because we only have 5 minutes on the women-owned aspect.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel grateful because all the guys that I've worked with through the time I've worked at Hala have never made me feel like a female, which I mean that as the biggest compliment. I've never felt like my thoughts or opinions or anything was handled different than I was just a human being that was offering my thoughts and opinions. But I have realized since I took this over that it is inspiring and motivating to people, that it's a women-owned business, and I'm thankful for that opportunity. I coach volleyball and primarily use it as like a medium to help young women and girls understand that it's okay to take up space in our community. It's okay to take up space in our culture. You don't have to be hesitant or afraid or restrict yourself from anything less than who you are. If you're shy, great. If you don't want to be shy, fine. But you can just be who you are. So that aspect of being a woman-owned business is cool. I also think that, even just based on the designs of the boards, me, Potter, and Peter worked through it together, but I think they're going to look a little different just because guys and girls have different taste. So the boys like them, unless they were lying to me. But I think that our female audience is also going to like them too. And, it's all preference. Who knows? Who knows if that's going to have an impact or not. But
I can't wait to see him. And in the last couple of minutes, still keeping on the woman-owned theme, I can't think of a single company, small or large, that's an outdoor gear manufacturer that's owned by women other than Colleen King with Hala. Maybe the audience will know differently. Maybe the Instagram or the YouTube audience will know differently. But rattle them off. Tell me whether it be skiing or biking or paddling, is there a company out there that's owned by a woman? Does that mean anything? I don't know. But Hala is special for so many reasons. And I think for the marketing aspect that I want to do in 2025, with your approval, is going to be a little bit of the Wild Rye. What's that, Peter? I don't know that must be a company. So he might have already thrown out and he would probably be doing this too, just snapping his fingers. Well, this and that. And
yeah.
So
but there is few, and it is cool to see women start to own some of these spaces, and the support of it is cool. I mean, I don't know. Germs, I think it was Germs. I can't see now. The comments scrolled up, but when the new line drops, we're hopeful for end of March, early April. I'm really pushed in, and Peter's been great in helping me push to get our boards delivered here a little bit sooner. In the years past, we've had delays. Now that I'm in the design process, I understand the delays and how many of them are outside of our control, truly. But we're really doing everything we can to try to get things in on time, early, so that we can even have a bigger budget to get them here by end of March, early April.
Wonderful.
Right as it all melts.
April, man, that's when some of the paddling is best out in Oregon and out in the Appalachian where I am. Spotted Dog Yoga is looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Dirt Jumper Jenny, also from Steamboats, she says it means a lot to have, I'm sure, a woman in the driver's seat. Thank you, everybody who's been on this in YouTube and Instagram. Please subscribe, follow all of that. Give links to friends. We are having our holiday sales going on right now in the 8 days of Christmas. So look at what we've got going on at hala.com. Look forward to what we've got going on in 2025 with the leadership of Colleen King, who we're talking with today. So thanks, everyone. Thank you so much, Colleen, for who you are as a person, who you are as a paddler, and who you are as the new owner of this great brand that I've been happy about for so many years now. Hala.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for taking the time, and thanks for putting it together. And we actually had people watch, which is cool. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Yeah,
and this platform is a little bit experimental. I appreciate you tolerating that. I think as one of the things that I want to continue doing with the brand is telling more people's stories. So bringing more people on. This, like Peter, let's talk to Peter. He's been on the SUPPAUL podcast before with his wife singing in the background. That was a great episode. But bring more people on to tell stories about the river and about adventure paddling until then, I see that Cohen just is on. He's stoked. Michelle Atkins, how's that baby coming along? She's cooking something up there in Charlotte. You haven't seen her on the water because she's got some other projects in the way. But anyway, everyone, thanks so much, and let's call that a wrap.
That sounds good. Thank you so much, Paul.
All right, Colleen. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
All right.